Captain Jack Reed winced as another explosion lit up the viewport. The bright flash faded, leaving behind a cloud of debris where the test probe had been moments before. This was the 12th failure this month. Well, that didn't work either, he said, turning to face the team of scientists. Their faces showed the same tired disappointment he felt. Dr. Anna Wilson stood at the main computer, her fingers flying over the keyboard. Unlike the others, her eyes still burned with determination. "We're getting closer," she said without looking up. The field held for 3.2 seconds this time. That's almost double our last attempt. Jack walked over to the large window of Jupiter Station's main lab. The gas giant filled much of the view, its swirling storms a backdrop to humanity's most ambitious project. Nearby, the sleek ships of the Galactic Council observers hovered, their designs making human vessels look like children's toys. "The Council representatives want another meeting," Jack said. "They're saying we should stop before we cause real damage." Anna finally looked up from her work. "They just don't want us to succeed." Everyone in the room knew she was right. For centuries, the most advanced races in the galaxy had tried and failed to build a stable artificial wormhole that didn't require massive energy. The current jump gates needed the power of small suns to operate, keeping most species bound to their home systems. Only the richest and most advanced council members could afford regular travel between distant stars. If humans could build a low-energy wormhole stabilizer, everything would change. The balance of power, trade routes, expansion rights, all the advantages the top council races enjoyed would disappear overnight. "Captain Reed," a voice came over the station speakers. "The council observers request your presence in meeting room 3. Jack sighed. "Tell them I'll be there in 10 minutes. He turned to Anna. "Come with me. They'll want to hear from the project lead." "I'm busy," she said, not looking up from her calculations. "Anna, please, you know I'm no good at the science talk." She gave an annoyed huff, but nodded. As they walked through the station's curved hallways, Jack noticed how tired she looked. She hadn't left the station in months. "You need a break," he said. "What I need is for the council to stop breathing down our necks." Anna ran a hand through her short brown hair. "Did you know they've doubled their observer team? 6 ships now. Why so many unless they're worried?" They entered the meeting room to find 3 aliens waiting. Jack recognized Ambassador Krull, the tall, blue-skinned representative of the Adraxian Empire. Next to him stood 2 others Jack had seen before but couldn't name. "Captain Reed, Dr. Wilson." Krull's translator made his voice sound flat. "Thank you for coming." Jack nodded. "What can we do for you, Ambassador?" "You can explain why you continue with this dangerous project despite our warnings." Krull's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of irritation. "Your last test created a subspace ripple that was detected 2 systems away." "A good sign," Anna said. "It means we're affecting real space." "It means," said one of the other aliens, "that you're playing with forces beyond your understanding. 3 advanced races have destroyed entire planets attempting what you're doing." "With all respect," Anna replied, "they were working from flawed math." The aliens exchanged looks. Jack could almost hear what they were thinking. Humans, barely space-capable for a century, claiming to understand what races with 1,000-year head starts had missed. Krull placed a datapad on the table. "The Council has voted. This project will be shut down in 30 Earth days. After that, any further attempts will be considered violations of Council safety protocols." Jack felt his stomach drop. "That's not fair. We have rights under the membership agreement." "Associate membership," corrected Krull. "Full members understand that some roads of research are closed for good reasons." After the aliens left, Jack and Anna stood in silence for a long moment. "They're scared," Anna finally said. "They should be. Did you see the readings from the last test? If the field had collapsed a second later, we would have lost the whole lab module." Anna shook her head. "No, they're scared because we're close to success." She pulled out her tablet and showed him a series of equations. "Look at this. I found it last night." Jack stared at the screen. "Anna, you know I can't read this. The aliens, all of them, they see subspace as a uniform field. That's why their equations keep failing when they try to create stable, low-energy wormholes." Her eyes were bright with excitement. "But what if subspace isn't uniform? What if it has layers, like Earth's atmosphere?" "Does it?" "I think so. And I think that's why our primitive approach is getting different results. We're not trying to brute force through the whole field. We're looking for the thin spots." Jack studied her face. "You really believe this could work?" "I know it will, but not in 30 days. We need at least 3 more months." Jack thought about his orders. He was supposed to shut things down if the council made an official ruling. His career would be over if he ignored those orders. But if Anna was right, what if we speed things up, work around the clock? He asked. Anna shook her head. "The fabrication of new test probes takes time, and we need to analyze each failure before we try again." Jack looked out the window at Jupiter's swirling clouds. Humanity had reached this far by taking risks, by ignoring those who said something couldn't be done. If they stopped now, they might spend the next century as second-class citizens in the galaxy. "What if we didn't use a probe for the final test?" he asked quietly. Anna's eyes widened. "You mean the Prometheus test ship? It's already equipped with most of the systems we need. We could modify it, run the test with a minimal crew." "That would be incredibly dangerous." Jack nodded. "So is letting the council decide humanity's future." Anna was quiet for a long moment. Then she smiled. "I'll need volunteers for the crew. Good people who understand the risks." "I'll be first on that list," Jack said. "If we're wrong." "If we're wrong, the council gets to say, 'I told you so' at our funeral." Jack shrugged. "But if we're right? If we're right, we change everything." Anna straightened her shoulders. "Let's get to work. We have 30 days to prove them all wrong." As they headed back to the lab, Jack wondered if he was making the biggest mistake of his life. But something told him that humanity was meant for more than just following rules made by others. Some rules needed to be broken. Some impossible things needed to be done. And humans were very good at both. 3 months had passed since the council's deadline. For 12 weeks, Jack had filed fake reports claiming the project was being dismantled. In reality, they had been working harder than ever, modifying the Prometheus test ship with Anna's new designs. Now Jack stood on the bridge of the small vessel, watching as his crew of 6 volunteers made final checks. They had moved the ship to Jupiter's far side, hoping to hide from the council observers for just long enough to run the test. "All systems are ready," said Tom Baker, the ship's engineer. His hand shook slightly as he worked the controls. "Power levels?" Jack asked. "Holding at 20%, Tom replied. "If Dr. Wilson is right, that's all we'll need." Jack nodded and looked at Anna, who sat at the main science station. She hadn't slept in 3 days, but her eyes were bright with excitement. "This will work," she said, answering his unspoken question. "The math is solid." The ship's comm system crackled to life. "Captain Reed." It was Admiral Lisa Grant, one of the few people who knew what they were really doing. "We've got a problem. Council ships are changing orbit. They'll have visual on you in 15 minutes. Jack frowned. "We need at least 20 for the full test sequence." "Then I suggest you hurry," Lisa replied. "And Jack, good luck. Earth is watching, even if they don't know it yet." Jack turned to his small crew. "You all know the risks. If anyone wants to leave, the escape pod can get you back to the station before we start." No one moved. "All right then. Anna, start the sequence." Anna's fingers flew over the controls. Around them, the ship hummed as power flowed into the experimental device they had built into the cargo hold. It wasn't elegant, a mess of cables and hastily welded parts, but Anna insisted it would work. "Stage 1 active," she announced. "Subspace field forming." On the main screen, Jack watched as a small distortion appeared about 100 meters in front of the ship. It looked like heat waves in a desert, a shimmering in the blackness of space. "Field is stable," Anna said. "Beginning stage 2. The distortion grew, forming a spinning disk about 10 meters across. Instruments on the ship's hull collected data, feeding it to Anna's station. "This is already twice as stable as our best probe test," she said, not hiding the pride in her voice. Jack allowed himself a small smile. Maybe they would actually pull this off. The ship's sensors beeped a warning. "Council ships detected," announced Maya Chen, the tactical officer. "3 vessels moving this way at high speed." "Time to detection?" Jack asked. 7 minutes. Jack looked at Anna. "Can we finish in time?" She nodded. Accelerating to stage 3. The disk in front of them pulsed, its edges becoming more defined. According to Anna's theory, they were creating a thin spot between normal space and subspace, the first step toward a stable wormhole. "Energy usage at 18%, Tom reported. "That's impossible by conventional theories. We should be at 80 at least." Anna grinned. "Conventional theories are wrong." The comm system crackled again. This time, it wasn't Admiral Grant. "Human vessel Prometheus." The voice belonged to Ambassador Krull. "You are in violation of Council directives. Cease your activities immediately." Jack ignored the message. "How much longer, Anna?" 2 minutes to final stage." Her voice was tense with concentration. "The field is almost ready for collapse into a stable wormhole." On the screen, the disk was now a perfect circle of swirling energy. Its center had darkened, as if they were looking into a deep well. "Council ships are charging weapons," Maya reported, her voice steady despite the news. Jack took a deep breath. "Continue the sequence." "Jack," Anna called out suddenly. "Something's wrong with the targeting. The exit point is shifting." "Shifting where?" She shook her head. "I don't know. The coordinates are. They're not matching anything in our database." Jack moved to her station. The screen showed the planned exit point, just past the orbit of Mars. But a second set of coordinates was appearing, numbers that made no sense. "Should we abort?" he asked quietly. Anna bit her lip. "If we stop now, we'll never get another chance." The decision was made for them as alarms blared across the bridge. "Energy spike," Tom shouted. "The field is collapsing, but not the way we planned." The disk in front of the ship suddenly expanded, growing from 10 meters to 50 in seconds. Its center wasn't dark anymore. It glowed with a blue-white light so bright the ship's screens automatically dimmed. "What's happening?" Jack demanded. Anna stared at her readings. "It's working, but something else is affecting it. Something's pulling from the other side." "The other side? You mean Mars orbit?" "No." Anna's face had gone pale. "Something much further away. The wormhole is connecting to somewhere else." Before Jack could respond, the ship lurched forward. Warning lights flashed across every console. "We're being pulled in," Tom shouted. Jack grabbed the command chair as the ship accelerated. "All power to engines. Reverse thrust." "No effect," Maya reported. "The gravitational pull is too strong." Through the view screen, Jack watched as the glowing disk filled their view. The blue-white light poured into the bridge, so bright he had to shield his eyes. "Anna," he called out, "what's on the other side?" She didn't answer. Jack turned and saw her staring at her screen, her face illuminated by more than just the light from the wormhole. Her eyes were wide, her mouth open in shock. "Anna, it's not empty space," she whispered. "There's something there, something enormous." The ship's hull groaned as they were pulled closer to the wormhole. Jack gave up fighting it, and instead focused on keeping the ship stable. "All hands, brace for transit," he ordered. "Whatever's on the other side, we're about to meet it." The Prometheus crossed the threshold in a flash of blue-white energy. For a heartbeat, Jack felt nothing, as if the universe had paused. Then sensation returned with a rush of noise and movement. "Status report," he called out, blinking to clear his vision. I don't know where we are," Maya said, "but we're inside something." As Jack's eyes adjusted, he saw what she meant. Through the view screen, he could see walls, massive metal structures stretching out in all directions. The wormhole had deposited them inside a structure so large his mind struggled to comprehend its scale. Anna was the first to speak. "It's a station," she said in awe. "An artificial structure bigger than anything humans have ever built." "Is it council technology?" Jack asked. Anna shook her head slowly. "No. Look at the designs, the writing on the walls. This is something else. Something older." As they stared in amazement, lights began to activate throughout the structure. Systems that had been dormant for who knew how long were coming to life around them. "We've triggered something," Anna said. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Jack, I think it was waiting for us." Before Jack could respond, a blinding light filled the ship. Every screen, every console lit up at once. Jack heard his crew cry out in surprise and pain. Then, as suddenly as it began, everything went dark. The last thing Jack saw before losing consciousness was Anna reaching toward one of the screens, her face transformed by the patterns of light playing across it. The wormhole experiment had worked, but they had connected to something no human had ever seen before, and now it knew they were here. Admiral Lisa Grant stood in Earth Command's main control room, watching the large display with growing concern. One moment, the Prometheus had been near Jupiter. The next, a massive energy surge had appeared, and the ship had vanished. "Any response to our hails?" she asked. "No, Admiral," replied the communications officer. "No sign of the Prometheus." Lisa frowned. She had supported Jack's mission, even though it broke council rules. Now she wondered if she had sent her friend and his crew to their deaths. "Admiral," called one of the sensor technicians, "we're detecting an anomaly near Mars orbit." Lisa moved to the sensor station. "What kind of anomaly?" "Unknown, ma'am, but it's big, and it's moving." On the main screen, a new object appeared. It was massive, nearly a kilometer across, and seemed to be drifting slowly toward Mars. "Is it a ship?" Lisa asked. The technician shook his head. "I don't think so. Readings suggest it's a fragment of something larger. Much larger." Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. What about the council ships that were pursuing the Prometheus? "They're maintaining distance from the object. No aggressive moves, but they've called for reinforcements." Lisa studied the image of the strange object. If the council was being cautious, that was a bad sign. They normally acted with complete confidence. "Get me a secure channel to the president," she ordered, "and prepare my shuttle. I want to see this thing up close." Jack woke slowly, his head pounding. He was still in his command chair on the Prometheus bridge, but something was wrong. The ship wasn't moving. "Status report," he croaked, then cleared his throat and repeated more firmly, "Status report." Tom Baker was the first to respond, groaning as he sat up at his station. "Main power is offline. Running on emergency systems only." One by one, the rest of the crew regained consciousness. Jack counted heads. All 6 were present and alive, though they looked as bad as he felt. "Anna," Jack called. "What happened?" Anna was staring at her console, which was displaying strange symbols that definitely weren't standard Earth language. "Anna," Jack tried again. She blinked and looked up, her eyes unfocused. "We triggered something," she said slowly. "A defense system, or... no, not a defense system. A recognition protocol." "What are you talking about?" Jack asked. "And what's happening to your console?" Anna looked down as if seeing the strange symbols for the first time. "I can read it," she whispered. "I don't know how, but I understand it." Jack walked over to her station. The symbols meant nothing to him, curves and lines that shifted and changed as he watched. "What does it say?" he asked. "It's a welcome message," Anna replied. "And instructions." Before Jack could ask more questions, the ship shuddered. "We're moving," Maya reported from Tactical. "Something is pulling us." Through the view screen, Jack watched as they traveled through the massive structure. Huge metal walls slid past, corridors large enough to fit entire cities opened and closed around them. "It's taking us somewhere," Anna said. Her voice had a dreamy quality that worried Jack. "To the central chamber." Jack touched her shoulder. "Anna, how do you know these things? What happened when that light hit us?" She looked at him, and for a moment her eyes seemed to glow with the same blue-white light as the wormhole. "Information," she said. "It downloaded information into our minds. But I think I got more than the others." The ship stopped moving. Through the view screen, they could see they were now in an enormous spherical chamber. In the center floated what looked like a small model of the galaxy, glowing with millions of tiny lights. "It's beautiful," Maya whispered. Anna stood up suddenly. "We need to go outside," she said. "It wants to talk to us." Jack frowned. "What wants to talk to us?" "The station. Or rather, what controls it." Anna started walking toward the airlock. Jack followed her. "Anna, wait. We don't know if it's safe out there." "It's safe," she said with complete confidence. "The air has been adjusted for human breathing. Gravity, too." Jack looked at the rest of the crew, who stared back with uncertain faces. "Stay here," he told them. "If we're not back in 30 minutes, try to get the engines working and get out." He followed Anna to the airlock. She was already putting on a simple breath mask, not a full spacesuit. "Anna, are you sure about this?" he asked. She handed him a mask. "Yes. The station won't hurt us. It's been waiting for us." Against his better judgment, Jack put on the mask. Together, they cycled through the airlock and stepped onto the deck of the enormous chamber. The air was breathable, just as Anna had said. The gravity felt normal. Jack removed his mask after a few cautious breaths. "What is this place?" he asked, his voice echoing in the vast space. Anna walked toward the glowing galaxy model. "It's a listening post," she said, "one of thousands spread throughout the galaxy." "Listening for what?" "For species reaching a certain level of development." Anna reached the edge of the platform surrounding the galaxy model. "The predecessors built these stations millions of years ago, before they left." The predecessors. Jack had never heard of them. "That's what the Council calls them," Anna explained. "The race that came before all others, the ones who seeded the galaxy with life, then vanished." Jack looked around the massive chamber. "And they built this?" "Yes, they left these stations to watch over their experiment, to see which species would develop in which ways." Anna pointed to the galaxy model, where certain stars glowed brighter than others. Each of these marks a developed world. Jack saw that Earth's sun was one of the brighter points. "So they know about us." "They've always known about us. About all intelligent life." Anna's voice was distant, as if she was reciting rather than thinking. "The stations were programmed to make contact when a species discovered certain technologies on their own. Like our wormhole stabilizer," Jack realized. Anna nodded. "The predecessors believed true innovation was the mark of a species ready for the next step, and humans just passed the test." Jack was about to ask what the next step meant when alarms sounded from the Prometheus. He turned to see Tom Baker waving frantically from the airlock. "Captain, we're picking up a massive energy buildup around the station." Jack grabbed Anna's arm. "We need to go back." She shook her head. "No, it's starting the process. We need to stay." "What process?" Jack demanded. "Return," Anna said, but she wasn't talking to him. She was looking at the galaxy model. "The signal for return has been sent." The entire station began to vibrate. Lights that had been dark for millions of years flared to life along the walls. "Anna, please," Jack pleaded. "We need to get back to the ship." Finally, she looked at him, her eyes clearing slightly. "Jack, you don't understand. This station, It's not just watching. It's a key. And we just turned it. Before Jack could respond, a section of the station wall simply vanished, revealing the blackness of space. Through the opening, Jack could see Mars in the distance. "How?" he began. "The station is moving through space-time," Anna explained, "taking us back to our solar system. A part of it, at least." Jack stared in amazement as stars streaked past the opening. Then suddenly they were still again, and the red planet filled much of the view. "We're home," he said in disbelief. Anna nodded. "And we brought a piece of the station with us. A gift. And a warning." Jack didn't like the sound of that. What kind of warning? Anna looked at him, and for the first time since waking, she seemed fully herself again. "The predecessors aren't gone, Jack. They're coming back. And now they know humans are ready to meet them." From the Prometheus, Tom called out again, "Captain, council ships are approaching." Jack sighed. Out of the frying pan, into the fire. Anna smiled slightly. "Don't worry. After what we've just done, the council is the least of our concerns." As they hurried back to the ship, Jack wondered what Earth would make of their discovery, and what the council would do when they learned humans had awakened something they had been trying to keep hidden for thousands of years. Admiral Lisa Grant's shuttle approached the massive structure now orbiting Mars. From a distance, it looked like a chunk of metal torn from something larger, jagged edges and exposed corridors visible along one side. But as they drew closer, she could see the incredible detail in its construction. Patterns that seemed random from afar revealed themselves as complex designs, writing in a language no human had ever seen. "Any word from the Prometheus?" she asked her pilot. "Yes, Admiral. Captain Reed is requesting permission to dock with us. Their ship is inside that thing." Lisa nodded. "Grant permission, and keep us at a safe distance from the council ships." 3 Galactic Council vessels hovered nearby, maintaining a standoff position. They had made no aggressive moves, but their weapons were clearly powered and ready. Lisa watched through the viewport as a small ship emerged from an opening in the massive structure. The Prometheus looked tiny against the ancient station, like a rowboat next to an aircraft carrier. When the Prometheus docked with her shuttle, Lisa was the first to meet them at the airlock. Jack looked exhausted but unharmed. The woman with him, Dr. Wilson, Lisa remembered, had a strange, distant look in her eyes. "Jack," Lisa said, embracing her friend briefly. "What in God's name happened?" "It's complicated," Jack replied. "But the short version is, we created the wormhole. It connected to that station, and now part of it is here in our solar system. And the council is freaking out," Lisa added. "They've called for an emergency meeting. The president wants you there." Jack nodded. "We need to talk to the council. They know more than they've been telling us." Lisa looked at Anna. "Is she all right?" "I'm fine," Anna said, her voice oddly calm. "Just processing." "The station downloaded information into our minds," Jack explained. "Anna got the most of it. She can read their language now." Lisa raised an eyebrow. "Whose language?" "The predecessors," Anna said. "The ones who came before all of us." Lisa had never heard of them, but there was no time for a history lesson. "We need to get back to Earth. The council representatives are already there, and they don't look happy." The meeting room in Earth's government center was tense. Jack, Anna, and Lisa sat on one side of the large table. Across from them, Ambassador Krall and 2 other alien representatives watched with barely concealed anger. Earth's President Thomas Miller sat at the head of the table, looking uncomfortable. He clearly didn't understand what was happening, but knew it was important. "Ambassador Krall," the president began, "perhaps you could explain why the council is so concerned about this discovery." Krall's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "This is not a discovery, Mr. President. This is a catastrophe." He pointed a long blue finger at Jack. "Captain Reed and his crew have activated technology that was sealed away for good reason." "What reason?" Jack asked. Krell ignored him, focusing on the president. We require immediate control of the station fragment and the removal of all human personnel from the site. The president frowned. That station is in Mars orbit, Ambassador. That's Earth territory. This goes beyond territorial claims, Krell insisted. The safety of the entire galaxy is at stake. Anna spoke for the first time since entering the room. You're afraid the predecessors will return. The room went silent. The alien representatives stared at her. How do you know that name? One of them asked quietly. The station told me, Anna replied. It showed me the truth you've been hiding from developing species for thousands of years. Krell stood up, all four of his eyes fixed on Anna. What exactly do you think you know, human? Anna met his gaze calmly. I know the Council didn't form to promote peace and cooperation. It formed to suppress technology, specifically technology that might contact the predecessors. Is this true? The president asked Krell. The ambassador didn't answer immediately. When he did, his voice was low. The predecessors were not benevolent creators, as your scientist seems to believe. They were conquerors who seeded worlds with life as part of a long-term experiment. That's not what the station's records show, Anna countered. You've seen a fraction of the evidence, Krell said. For 50,000 years, the Council races have studied the ruins the predecessors left behind. Every species that discovered and activated their technology eventually destroyed themselves, or were destroyed by something worse. Jack leaned forward. What do you mean, something worse? One of the other aliens, a small reptilian creature, answered. The predecessors did not simply leave. They were driven away, or destroyed, by something they created, something they couldn't control. Lisa frowned. If that's true, why hasn't the Council shared this information with humanity? Because knowledge of the predecessor's technology inevitably leads species to try to replicate it, Krell said. And that always ends badly. The president looked troubled. So what happens now? Now, Krell said, we implement containment protocols. The station fragment must be destroyed before it can activate more of the Silent Fleet. The Silent Fleet? Jack asked. Anna nodded slowly. The listening posts. There are thousands of them throughout the galaxy. If they all activate at once, they will summon what destroyed the predecessors, Krell finished. We cannot allow that to happen. Jack looked at Anna. Is he telling the truth? Could the station be dangerous? Anna hesitated. The information I received doesn't suggest that. But it's incomplete. The station's memory core was damaged centuries ago. The president stood up. I need time to consult with Earth's other leaders. Until then, no action will be taken against the station. Krell's skin darkened, a sign of anger. You don't understand the danger, Mr. President. The Council has maintained peace for 50,000 years by controlling this technology. If humans activate more of it, then maybe we'll learn the truth, Lisa said, instead of just taking your word for it. After the meeting, Jack found Anna standing alone by a window, looking up at the night sky. Do you think Krell is lying? He asked her. Not entirely, she replied. But the Council is hiding something. The station's records show the predecessors were preparing for a journey, not fleeing from a threat. A journey where? Anna pointed to the stars. Beyond the galaxy. They believed younger species needed space to develop on their own. Their technology was left as a gift for those who proved ready. And the Council has been suppressing this gift. Anna nodded. They're afraid of what would happen if all species had the same level of technology. Their power comes from controlling who gets access to what. Jack sighed. So what do we do now? I need to go back to the station, Anna said. There's more information there, information that could tell us the truth about the predecessors and why they left. The Council won't let that happen easily, Jack warned. They're already calling for the station to be destroyed. Anna turned to him, her eyes glowing slightly in the dim light. They can try. But the station has defenses they can't imagine. And now that it's awakened, It's calling to the others. The other stations. The silent fleet. She nodded. Soon, they'll all be active, and the Council won't be able to stop what comes next. Jack felt a chill at her words. Which is what, exactly? Evolution, Anna said simply. The next step in the predecessor's plan. The reason they seeded the galaxy with life in the first place. And if Kral is right, if there's something dangerous out there that the predecessors couldn't control. Anna looked back to the stars. Then humanity will face it. And unlike the Council, we won't hide from the challenge. As Jack looked at the determination in her eyes, he wondered if humanity was ready for what was coming, whether it was the predecessors returning with gifts of advanced technology, or something far more dangerous that had been waiting in the darkness between stars for millions of years. Either way, there would be no going back to the way things were before. Humanity had opened a door that the Council had kept locked for millennia. Now they would all have to face what came through it. 1 week after the meeting with the Council, Earth faced its greatest crisis. 30 Council warships had taken position around the planet, their weapons aimed at major cities. The message was clear: surrender the station fragment and all wormhole technology, or face containment. Jack stood in Earth Command's war room, where military leaders from around the world had gathered. On the main screen, they watched as more Council ships arrived every hour. "We can't fight them," General Harris said, pointing to a display showing the power of the alien fleet. "Their smallest ship could destroy a city. Their largest could crack the planet." President Miller looked grim. "And surrender means giving up our future. The Council will never let us develop independently after this." Admiral Grant nodded. "They'll place permanent observers on Earth. Our technology will be limited, our space travel restricted. We'll be prisoners in our own solar system." Jack had been quiet, thinking. Now he spoke up. There might be a third option. All eyes turned to him. "Anna has been working with the station fragment," he explained. "She believes we can use what we've learned to build more wormhole stabilizers, hundreds of them, small enough to fit on drones." "What good would that do?" the general asked. "We can't fight our way out of this." "We're not going to fight," Jack said. "We're going to make a demonstration." In a secret lab beneath the lunar colony, Anna worked without rest. Her eyes glowed faintly as her hands moved across equipment no human had designed. Around her, Earth's best scientists watched in awe. "Another one complete," she announced, holding up a small device no bigger than a coffee mug. It was the 200th wormhole stabilizer they had built. Jack picked it up, examining it. "Will they work?" "Yes," Anna said confidently. "Each one is programmed to connect to a specific silent fleet station. When activated simultaneously, they'll create a network of wormholes across the galaxy." "And then what?" Anna smiled. "Then we show the Council what they've been afraid of all this time." On Earth, tensions reached a breaking point. Council ships had begun landing troops. Peacekeepers, they called them, in several major cities. Their message repeated hourly: surrender the technology or face elimination. President Miller had refused to sign any agreement. "Humanity will not be bullied into submission," he declared in a worldwide broadcast. "We have the right to develop our own path." But everyone knew time was running out. The Council had set a final deadline, 24 hours before they would take action. In the war room, Jack met with Earth's leaders one last time. "The stabilizers are ready," he told them. 200 drones, each carrying one device. They can be launched from bases around the world. President Miller looked around the table. "This is our last chance. If Dr. Wilson is wrong about the stations, I trust her," Jack said simply. After a moment, the president nodded, launched the drones. Ambassador Kral stood on the bridge of the Council flagship, watching Earth on the main screen. The primitive planet still hadn't surrendered, despite being hopelessly outmatched. "Humans are stubborn," he told his captain, "but they'll break when we fire the first warning shot." An alarm sounded. The ship's sensors had detected multiple launches from Earth. "They're attacking?" the captain asked in disbelief. Krull watched as hundreds of small objects rose from the planet. No, these are too small to be weapons. Scan them. The results came back quickly. Energy signatures similar to their wormhole device, the science officer reported, but much smaller. Krull felt cold fear for the first time in many cycles. Stop them. Target those drones immediately. But it was too late. All across Earth's sky, hundreds of small wormholes began to open, perfect circles of swirling energy. In the war room, Jack and the others watched through drone cameras as the wormhole stabilized. Through each one, they could see different parts of the galaxy, and in each location, an ancient station identical to the Mars fragment was beginning to activate. It's working, Jack breathed. Anna nodded, her eyes reflecting the light of hundreds of wormholes. The silent fleet is waking up. All of it. On the diplomatic channel, Ambassador Krull's voice was nearly a scream. Do you know what you've done? You've doomed us all. President Miller answered calmly. We've made our choice, Ambassador. Now humanity controls its own destiny. Jack looked at Anna. What happens next? Watch, she said. Through each wormhole, the ancient stations were fully awake now, their lights pulsing in the same rhythm. Then suddenly, all the wormholes expanded, growing large enough for ships to pass through. They're creating a transportation network, Anna explained. The predecessors built it to connect the galaxy. The Council has been keeping it disabled for thousands of years. On the main screen, they could see the Council ships backing away from Earth, their weapons no longer targeting the planet. They're retreating, General Harris said in amazement. They're afraid, Anna corrected, because they know what's coming next. As if on cue, a new signal appeared on Earth's long-range sensors. Something massive was approaching from beyond the solar system, moving faster than should be possible. Is that? Jack began. Anna nodded. A predecessor ship, the first of many. They received the awakening signal. The room fell silent as everyone realized what that meant. Humanity wasn't alone anymore. And the Council was no longer the most powerful force in the galaxy. 3 days later, Jack stood with Anna, Admiral Grant, and President Miller on a platform at Earth's largest spaceport. Above them, visible even in daylight, hummed the enormous predecessor vessel that had arrived through the newly created wormhole network. It was beautiful, not the weapon of war the Council had feared, but a ship of exploration and discovery. Its design spoke of a civilization thousands of years more advanced than anything the Council races had achieved. They're coming down, Anna said, watching as a small craft descended from the massive ship. Jack took a deep breath. Are you sure they're friendly? Anna nodded. They left because they wanted younger species to develop on their own. Now they've returned to welcome those who are ready. And the Council? The Council will have to adapt, she said. Their power was built on controlling access to technology. That control is gone now. The small craft landed, and a ramp extended. Jack found himself holding his breath as the first predecessor stepped out. They were tall and slender, with skin that seemed to shift colors like the surface of a soap bubble. Their eyes, 4 of them, arranged in a diamond pattern, were kind and intelligent. They look almost human, President Miller whispered in surprise. Anna smiled. The predecessors seeded many worlds with life. Their genetic pattern is the foundation for most intelligent species. The lead predecessor approached, stopping a few feet away. It made a complex gesture with its hands, and a voice spoke in perfect English, not from the alien's mouth, but from the air around them. We have waited a long time for this meeting, it said. Humanity has proven itself worthy by solving what others could not. President Miller stepped forward. We welcome you to Earth. We have much to learn from you. The predecessor made a sound that might have been laughter. And we from you. The Council races forgot that innovation comes from challenge, not comfort. Humans remember this truth. Jack looked at Anna. What happens now? She took his hand, her eyes bright with excitement, rather than the strange glow of the station's influence. "Now we join the real galactic community," she said, "not as junior members to be controlled, but as equals. The predecessors will share their knowledge with all species ready to receive it." "And the Council?" the predecessor answered. "The Council must choose, continue their path of control, or embrace a new way forward. Many of their people already question the old beliefs." As more predecessorships appeared through the wormhole network, visible as new stars in Earth's sky, Jack realized that humanity had changed the course of galactic history, not with weapons or conquest, but by doing what humans had always done best, refusing to accept that something was impossible. They had built what couldn't be built. They had awakened what was meant to stay sleeping. And in doing so, they had opened the door to a future bigger and brighter than anyone had imagined. The galaxy would never be the same again.